We are still on the same issue, but let's proceed to 3.13. 3.1, honorable colleagues, is more of a really policy discussion. Honorable colleagues, 3.13. I hope I've not jumped something sensitive. Page 33. Sometimes I follow the original one. Yeah, 3.13, PSST, is more at central, honorable colleagues, the way we budget and we go, the way we run about the budget. It needs an honest discussion. Here you are, you come to Parliament, we've given you a budget of 52, okay? You come through and process a budget of 80 trillion. You can't even warrant the whole budget we've given you, but you request a supplementary. Just look through it. Is that we've given you a budget of 52. You are only able to warrant 50. But during the budgetary process, you bombarded the Parliament with a parliamentary request of 80 trillion. Of 8 trillion. How do you, even if I was running a kiosk, that would request an explanation. Because it seems from your tail end, there is nothing like budget discipline. You don't stick to what budget you have issued. You don't do anything, and it's been consistent. It's not mere an audit question, but it requires a solid explanation. Because we are going through ministerial policy statements, Sujui budget framework paper, Sujui what. You don't even have the money to warrant the whole budget. And then you process the supplementary. And I attended your first brief to the budget committee when you had just taken over as a PSST. If we were to draw back that submission, I was very inspired. I said, we now have a new day. And I was very inspired. We now have said the supplementary will be, said the Parliament rejects supplementary. This revision of the budget is bogus. You used very tough language. But here you are, 4 years. 4 years, you've been there 4 years. It's even getting worse in terms of budget discipline. Let me put it to you, in the eyes of Ugandans, gross budget indiscipline. It's not a good parliamentary language, but I have no better choice. This is gross budget indiscipline on part of government, and with intention of 3%, which you do and bring here,
Mr. Chairman,
and it is explained.
You are using very strong words, and I would like to interject. It's not acceptable, really, to use those languages. We sit every single day to make the budget better, and it is getting better. So for you to sit there and you start using those platitudes, it's not acceptable.
Number
order,
one,
Mr. Chairman.
The budget.
Order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order.
Not acceptable.
Order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order.
Order.
Mr. Chairman, in this conference hall we are seated, as vested in the chairman are those powers of the Speaker of Parliament. And before you here, you have members of Parliament, you have technical staff, and you are witness before you. I am seeing a situation where one of your witnesses, the PSST, is about to overlap your powers by giving decisions which are supposed to be made by you because of the language you have used, which on our side, we haven't felt any harm on them. So is it in order for your witness, leaving facts that it comes from Butambara like you, to come before us here and start usurping your powers by giving orders to you, yet even us who might have had other issues on him are playing because of your powers. Is it in order, Mr. Chairman?
Order. You know, he's a professor. Yeah?
Read him first rule, honorable member. Let's help
Who is
the
the
witness again. Yes, it is
Yeah, don't
supplementary. Chair, as before you rule, and in addition to his point, PSST, incidentally in these meetings, the only person authorized to declare language strong and parliamentary harsh is the chair. Incidentally. So you and I can only look on and maybe perhaps plead for leniency or mercy. So going forward, we only have to be cautious because the chair in these meetings is supreme. The committee has powers of the High Court. So we can only bow even when we disagree. So maybe perhaps moving forward, just to caution ourselves, those of us who are this side, that the chair is supreme and we move by his guidance. That is supplementary information I wanted to give.
Thank you so much. To cut a long story, is a professor and is a professor of economics. He defines in economics, which I studied very elementary, there is what we call budgeting discipline, and that term is there. And if I were to tell him as a former teacher to define budgeting discipline, I don't think it will not relate to this, but for another day. For purposes of continuity, let us accept and continue. So let's move. Now it is I've not ruled, but let's continue. But for me, from my word, I want to stick and tell government in the face that this continued impunity and behaving like this borders on budgeting discipline. Honorable Sarah.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's very hot. And it takes a real man to sit in that office and say no to certain things. Because you remember the late Keith used to say, he used to say no, and he says, if you want to sack me, sack me. But I have said no. So it is not a very, certain things not done because he doesn't want. But I think we ourselves have also failed to support him. Because the Public Finance Management Act was supposed to be amended. And I remember signing a motion, which you were the mover and I second, to try and remove that 3% window. Yeah, because they actually use that window to do what they want to do. So what happened to that amendment? It's for another day. You may not respond to me, but we have failed to support their office. A PSST, the Minister of Finance is the President. He has a Minister of Finance who is there but holding for the President. So certain times, if we are talking about budgeting discipline, then let us refer that indiscipline to the executive.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman. Those are politicians.
For purposes of continuity, we may dwell on this. Let's move forward. No. You cannot even warrant a whole budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Something very small. Mr. Chairman, a budget is run in such a way that supplementary is only sought when there are instances or needs which are supposed to be funded, but they were unforeseeable at the time of the budget. Because there are instances which, there are events which happen, and we must fund them. It doesn't mean that a supplementary budget should come over and above that which was approved before. It may actually come immediately when you have just approved the budget, because the executive does not have powers to appropriate a budget. Budget is appropriated by Parliament. So if you appropriated the budget to be spent on certain items, certain activities, but now there is a new demand, there is a new need. I will give an example. Somebody has died, and we must provide funding for them to be sent off. And he's a very powerful person in the country. The entity will ask for supplementary. It doesn't matter whether that money was in the original, I mean, you could cover it in the budget or not. What am I saying? That it's not as logical as we may want to put it, that before you have exhausted the money which we gave you in the budget, you should never come back here to ask for supplementary, because this is a different line of expenditure altogether. It's a new need, and it was not appropriated. I must bring it to Parliament. I get the authority and spend. But now, the wisdom of Parliament was also, not everything should first come to us. It might be very urgent. And you know, appropriation, we go to cabinet, then we come to Parliament, and it may take time. And now we keep the body in a refrigerator or what? So that's why they say 3% is there. So Mr. Chairman, I've explained this severally, that whereas there could be challenges of supplementary which we are actually addressing going forward, because it was an issue of poor planning in some of them, poor planning, poor budgeting, things which should not have been in a supplementary end up in a supplementary, and we are saying this should stop, and we have made this commitment to the Auditor General and to Parliament, and you will judge us as we go forward. There are those which will never go away, because there are certain things which you will never foresee as you budget. So I would like to seek your indulgence and that of members to really inform you that it's not budgeting discipline. It is sometimes the actual things which happen, and we must spend on them, as we also address those poor planning and budgeting, because sometimes we are under budgeting in certain areas, which we have realized ourselves, and we are addressing them.
Okay, thank you. I call another item. No. Let's call another item. That's policy.
Chairman, there are people buried the same who died, and the government said the official body will move. We must have evidence attached to what he tells us. Does he have that kind of attachment to us that can make us move on?
The reason why I said we move on is that you think that explanation is very
satisfactory.
No, it's very qualitative, given the magnitude of the issue. You are speaking about a difference of 18 trillion, and one gives you an explanation of, barriers, what. So that's why I said certain things we move on.
So what do you think, Mr. Chairman, the circumstance?
We will hear that, we will make our own report, our own analysis, and we will speak to it. So that's why I've said that we've listened. Even if we flog it for another, you will not give another explanation.
Mr. Chair, can we proceed? Thank you, Chairman.
But can we proceed?
Yes, but allow me 1 minute.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. You look, when we are to leave it the way it is, it will turn as if we don't know what we are doing. For example, what the PSST has been explaining, those are the basic information knowledge we know. In an ideal situation, the 3% of the supplementary is okay. But now it is being abused. That's why you are using indiscipline in budgeting. That is the point. we know that there are many activities or items which Parliament during budget time, they reject. Now, after rejections, it comes in the supplementary. And they use it, they spend it in the 3%. That is an area where we are saying that this indiscipline is the one we want it to be spoken out. Number two, you have been accused that you made a statement which is not necessary here, but that statement is very necessary. For example, now, there is what they have even stated here. Money has been warranted. The explanation they gave here, that some of the explanation is that during the warrant, maybe the right of way was not given and all those kind of in the statement that they made. But outside there, when you go to the Ministry of Local Government, other people that they are given warrant to spend the money, they tell you, they give you permission at the tail end of the financial year, when it's remaining some few weeks to close the financial year. Then they said, okay, you've been given authorization, the warrant has been given to you. And then eventually you fail to perform to the expectation. In the explanation, it's not given, but those are clear things. This is on the public. What do we have to talk about it? And this is the only moment we can get to know about it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I understand. But I know, and we will put the blame where it lies. If it's Parliament, we will be expressed. But because this is not a new issue, that's why I said it's more of a policy issue, and I'd never intended to dwell on it. I know how sensitive it is. Can we proceed to, you seem not to have reported on it, on 3.14, unfunded invoices of close 11 trillion. That's why I said, let us give time, because there are more interesting things that will interest you as you go through this than these policy issues. There are, we're on 3.14 in the original report. I don't know, did you report on it? You reported on it. Can we go to it on page what?
35. That's where the answer is. It starts from 34, but there is a response on 35.
Yes, can we go through it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'll take you back. I want you to relate it to a payable, because we want to resolve those issues once and for all. This unspent balance of 11 trillion and then the payable of 13 trillion and how they relate to each other. Honorable colleagues, a payable, in the audit report, where is it? The payable of it's among the first.
On page 3.
1.3.
On page 3.
Yes, honorable colleagues, here is the Auditor General reviewed the statement of financial position and disclosed on note 25 and noted an increase in payable from 10 trillion payable. These areas, okay, they are areas of government increased from 10.02 trillion to 13.3814 trillion by end of a financial year, an increase of 31%. He further analyzed and revealed that the new payables stood at 6.63 trillion compared to only 33.69 trillion paid during the financial year. And we want to answer that payable together
also
with
the unfunded
and the inconsistency thereof.
Mr. Chairman, this big figure is driven by the BOU debt, which we have so far provided for, structured, and we have started paying. So I would want really to inform you that this problem, which has been reoccurring and bringing this figure, and I think perhaps many people were thinking government is not paying its creditors, mainly the suppliers and so on, to that tune. The figure is big because of mainly Bank of Uganda. But we have since restructured this debt, and last year we paid 452 billion, and we are now we're planning to pay another 1.1 trillion this coming financial year, but it has already been scheduled for payment, and as a result, BOU has even stopped charging interest on it. We are good for it in terms of provision. It was mainly this contracted due to COVID, and we are now paying very religiously every year. We have scheduled it. It shouldn't cause any problem. Now, the others are the other arrears for other suppliers, which now I'll request the account.
Before it comes, can we harmonize? In 1.3, the payables stood at 13.8. Now, here, are you meaning that the 8.1?
Open page 83 on the consolidated account. Note 25, if we can understand the account that, maybe.
Payables. Page 83, yes. Not 25, I've seen it, and other deductions payable. 615 payables. And then you get 13. Now, where do you place the 8? In trade creditors? In trade creditors. That's why you place the... Now let's do a simple math. Looking at these figures.
Mr. Chairman, in the disclosure, if one asks if we look at the breakdown of that, where should we get it from? Of the 12. So yeah, this is for BOU, this is for Mudimi, this is for well,
The authors are saying this indicates that the rate at which government contracts domestic arrears is much higher than the rate of payment, leading to continued accumulation of domestic arrears. This may be attributed to failure to enforce the budget commitment control guidelines. That becomes a weakness on your side. Then when you go to page 35, where I still have Mr. Chairman interest in this matter, the unpaid debt obligations of treasury operations attract penalties by Bank of Uganda and accumulation of domestic arrears and associated costs. These economists, the Mudimis, no.
Honorable Sewungu, you are going to come to that major policy issue. But let us first